What's going on, guys? We are back with another episode of the BeBall Jones podcast with Nelson Haskin. I'm your co-host, Nelson Haskin, here with the man, the myth, the legend, BeBall Jones. What's going on, man?
What's up, bro? You good?
Yes, sir. How about yourself? How you doing?
Yeah, man, I'm straight, man. Straight, man. So let's get into it, man. I'm ready for this topic today. It's a good one.
Yes, sir. So today we're getting into the levels of basketball, like on every level. So we're gonna start out talking about the collegiate level and the different levels that make up the whole NCAA. And so we'll get into depth on those different levels, and then we'll move on to the pro level and talk about the different levels of pro basketball there are, because everybody doesn't understand the fact that there's not just Kentucky, Duke, Auburn, Alabama, North Carolina when it comes to college basketball. And some people don't understand that it's not just the NBA and the G League when it comes to pro basketball. So
Yep.
we plan on diving into that today, explaining more about it, so everyone can have a better understanding of that. And yeah, well, let's jump right into it, man. So where you want to start at, my boy? Where are we going first?
So since you are a D2 player, man, I want to get your perspective on it, man, from what you see and what you know of the game, and what are the differences? Because you started off with JUCO and you leveled up to playing D2 right now. So in your opinion, like, what are the major differences that you see from the two levels that you jumped up to, and overall from uh, D1 going down?
Well, starting off with JUCO, going from JUCO to D2, there's a lot of differences. So the main difference I would say, just keeping it basketball wise, the main difference I would say is obviously the level of play. Obviously, the JUCO level doesn't have as many, or doesn't have the talent level and the talent pool of the Division II level. It's a lot higher here, and you can see that in most people's stats that go from JUCO to playing in Division II are never going to be equal or just the same. And so my JUCO, Belva State Community College down in Jasper, Alabama. Shout out to my peoples. Um, we played in what's known as the ACCC, the Alabama Community College Conference. So our JUCO conference consisted of only Alabama teams, Alabama JUCO teams. And then in the non-conference schedule, we played a lot of teams from maybe Mississippi or Georgia occasionally. And so in our junior college process, I played about my head coach told me how many games I played. I want to say he told me 66 games at Bell State. And so I've only played 12 games here on the Division II level here at Columbus State University, where I'm at now. I've only played 12 games here so far because of the COVID season and how things have shook out. We only got 12 games in. But from my brief experience here, I can tell you the big differences are definitely talent level, because in JUCO, or in junior college, JUCO, short for junior college, for those who may not know. I'm sorry, I just be throwing that out there. But for junior college, on the junior college level, I averaged 12 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3 blocks, shooting 55%. And so on the Division II level, in my first 12 games, I was only averaging 5 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 blocks. So my stats are significantly lower, but then again, we also didn't have as many games, so I didn't have a lot of opportunity to increase my stats. But nevertheless, the stats are still lower than what they originally were at my junior college level. So the talent level is definitely a big jump. And guys are also bigger, stronger, faster, and more pure athletes. And so you also, coming from a lower level to a higher level, you have to get bigger, stronger, faster, and smarter to compete at another level. And some guys can't make that jump or make that adapt to the higher level. But the guys who put the work in and really step up to the challenge, they can usually handle anything when it comes to when it comes to transferring from one level to the next.
I like that, man. So can you speak on like the differences between, because at least for me growing up, a lot of kids, especially like when I was middle school and younger, it was a mindset of D1 or bust. Like nothing is good enough besides D1. So it's like, can you speak on the gaps between D1, mid-major, D2, D3, so on and so forth?
Yeah, so the Division I level is obviously the highest level of college basketball or college sports that you can play. And so everyone knows that that the Division I level hosts the big names, the Dukes, the Kentuckys, the North Carolinas, Alabama's, the Auburns, the Mississippi States. Those are all what is known as high major Division I schools. So high major means that mostly it can, refers to the amount of students in the school. So a high major Division I school is in layman's terms, a big school. It's a very big school, and it has the most funding from the NCAA. So they have a lot of money, more students, more money. So, and then you have mid-major Division I. Mid-major means slightly smaller schools, still Division I level play, but smaller population of students, smaller amount of students, smaller amount of money. So they don't have as much exposure as the high majors. And so that's the only difference between high major and a mid-major Division I school. And then you take the jump from mid-major to Division II. Division II is really the intermediate of collegiate sports. It's like, not to say it's not as competitive as a Division I level, but a good Division II school can compete with Division I colleges, and we see that all the time. In fact, my last game here at Columbus State before we got shut down by the coronavirus was against a Division I school, which we lost in overtime by, I want to say we lost by 5 in the end. And we, not to get on a tangent, but we really beat ourselves going down the stretch. We had the lead. This was a game we really should have won. So the Division II school really had every opportunity to beat the Division I school in this instance. So I don't want people to think, oh, well, just if they're a Division II playing a Division I, it's an automatic L, because that's not always true. In fact, 10 years ago, the last time, the Columbus State's only played D1s 3 times in the last 10 years. The first time they played a D1 school was against Auburn University when they won 58-56. So I don't want people to think Division II is like the chum bucket and Division I is the Krusty Krab. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's there. I mean, obviously there is differences in talent, but a good Division II school can compete with anybody the same way. Well, I wouldn't say a good college team can compete with a good pro team, but a pro team other than the NBA maybe so.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so those are the main differences between those 3 levels, at least the high majors, the mid majors, and the Division II level.
So could you say that those differences are very close to the high school system where you got, 7A, 6A, 5A? Could you say it's very close to that type of system as far as the differences in it?
I'm sorry, bro. My mama sent me an important message. I need you to answer me the question again.
It's all good. So, So with the comparisons from that, could you say that high school ball is close to it with the rankings as far as 7A, 6A, 5A, and so on? Like,
it's kind of similar in the way that it's based on the number of students. So the number of students you have, the bigger talent pool you have. But the difference in that is, I wouldn't say it's the same, because a 7A high school can not just, I mean, we all know some schools that are just like not big on sports like that. There are 7A high schools that put all they not all, but a lot of their money into the academic side of things, or maybe music or theater, something like that. And then they don't have very good football and basketball teams and stuff like that. But the thing about that is Division I school isn't good because of the amount of students they have. They're good because, number one, they have the most funding from the number of students they have. therefore allowing them to get the best players with the most amount of scholarships and the most to offer. But 7A school, they just happen to have students that live in that area most of the time in the event of being in a public school at least. They have students that live in that area, bigger school, more students, probably a big city, whatever. They have the most amount of students to choose from, most likely going to have a better sports team. And so, and that's not to say that a 1A or a 2A school can't be good, but a 1A school is probably the only school around in probably that whole county, or maybe the only school for miles in that city. And they just have to take, same thing with the 7A school, they can only take who comes, so they can't really pick and choose who ends up being in the school or what athletes are there. So that's a big difference. So it can also be said that some high schools recruit good players that come to their school and things like that win state championships, but that's a conversation for another day.
Yep.
But the Division I level has the most to offer athletes, which is why a lot of kids in high school will often say it's D1 or bust, because that's mainly all they know. They've only seen Division I schools play. So when they think about going to play college basketball, that's the only thing they think about. Oh, this is all I see. I see these guys playing on TV, playing in a tournament. I want to be in that environment. So I'm either going D1 or it's nothing. They don't see the Division IIs. They don't see Columbus State playing on TV. They don't see Auburn and Montgomery playing on TV. They don't see University of West Alabama playing on TV, which are all Division II schools. They only see the D1s. And so with that being all they see, that's all they know. And with that being all they know, that's all they want to do. And so that's understandable, but it's mainly on coaches and parents to try to make sure they know the other levels of basketball. So hopefully, kids in high school that are hearing this or will hear this will gain a better understanding of the different levels and know that there's more to do and there's more levels to play on than just the Division I. Not saying you shouldn't strive to be on the Division I level, because like I said, that's the highest level to play. But if the Division I's don't come calling right away, don't write off playing basketball, or don't think you're less than because Division I schools are not calling you out the gate. So I just want guys to understand that and know that at the end of the world.
So it's like you speaking on with not being exposed to the other opportunities. Is that where you think the overall disrespect comes in? Because like you said, a lot of kids are D1 or bust, and they're like disgusted with thought of a D2 or mid-major even offering them, because in their mind, it's like that means they're not good enough. So is that where you think the lack of respect and everything for mid-majors and D2s come from?
I think that's part of it. And also, a lot of times, if you are like me and don't live in a college town, there's the nearest college to my hometown in Demopolis was the University of West Alabama down in Livingston, Alabama. That's 30 minutes away. That's the nearest division. That's the nearest high-level division school. So the University of West Alabama is Division II. And so if I don't have a college near me that plays or that has a team like that on a higher level, then what do I know about playing on that level if I never see it?
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. And I think coaches should do a better job explaining to their players in high school, even in middle school, start earlier. Middle school, AAU coaches, whatever, they should do a better job of explaining to their players, like, hey, there are great Division II schools out here that can offer you a lot, that can do a lot for you. Don't write them off because it's not exactly what you wanted or the highest level. And like I said, strive to be on the highest level, but if the highest level isn't calling for you, that's not the end of the world. There's more levels there or out here to be played on that'll still get you the same results as playing on the Division I level. And if you belong on the Division I level, if you absolutely belong on that level and don't end up going there, you will prove it on another level, on a lower level. If you are destined to be on the highest level of play and you end up not getting there, it will show whatever level you go to.
Yeah.
If an NBA player going to play basketball in Italy is going to show why he was in the NBA.
Yeah.
And it's the same concept. So if you are Division I talent and end up at a D2 or go JUCO out of high school or whatever you decide to do, you will prove it on that level. Somebody will see it.
Yep.
So I think guys don't understand that either. Like, guys sometimes take that concept of, okay, Division Ones are not offering me, I must not be as good as I think, to mean, or they take that to mean that they're not as good as they think.
Yeah.
When really, you have every opportunity to prove that you are as good as you think. And it's
Yep.
not about proving them wrong, but proving yourself right. So prove yourself right by going to that next level, or the highest level that offered you, or the best school that offered you for best fit for you, and proving yourself on that level, and the work will show for itself.
Yeah, man, I got to back that, because I remember I was kind of middleman between a young man and his dad. He was trying to tell his dad that he needs to play travel ball or AAU ball, because it's an exposure thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's better exposure for him to play travel ball. And I agree with him, because, depending on how your high school ball goes, there's a chance that you might not get exposure, because you might be doing great as far as personally in your stats, but if your team sucks, it's not going to look as good. And you can't control that all the time, because, like you said before, I'm limited to the kids that are in my area, in my zone for this school. But with travel ball, you get a chance to get a better picking and selection of who you're playing with. And so, but overall, I told him, it's like, I agree where you're coming from. But at the end of the day, if you can play, they're going to find you. Like, there's no excuses. At this point in time, there's no excuses. Like, I understand, opportunities and everything as far as money and stuff, but like, it's too many online trainers. It's too many platforms to where you can put your own stats up there as a player. It's too much stuff going on, too many different exposure camps going on, to where you can't get your name out there to some extent. You know what I mean? So it's like, at some point, it's like, we got to eliminate the excuses of any excuses, honestly, because at this point, it's too much internet out there for us to be like, oh man, they sleep on me, they don't know about da. Like, no, bro, obviously you're not good enough. Like, at some point in time, we got to look in the mirror.
What you think you are.
Exactly. We got to look in the mirror and just say, okay, I'm not that good. You know what I mean? Like, either I'm not that good, or I just didn't have the exposure. It's always one of those two things.
Exactly.
You
and all the guys, the not having the exposure is very possible. If you go to a little 1A school somewhere and that no one's ever heard of, like, look at J.D. Davidson at Calhoun. Calhoun is Division 3, not Division 3. 3A is a 3A high school, I want to say, that no one has really heard of until J.D. Davidson popped up. And for those who don't know who J.D. Davidson is, he's I don't think he's number one. No, I don't think he's number one in America right now, but he's a top 10 high school player and top 10 in the country right now on ESPN and the ESPN rankings. And he's signed to go to Alabama on a team in a high school who most people have never heard of if you're not from that area. I've only know it because I am close to that area. So if you are that level of talent, they will find you. And if you don't have that amount of exposure, good schools will still find you. You just have to be, if you are who you think you are, they'll find
you. Yep. And then to another extent, it's like, even if you aren't, Kentucky, Duke, Kansas, whatever, the highest level of D1, mid-major is perfectly fine. If your goal is to go pro basketball, not just NBA, but pro basketball in general, it's very possible. We have too many examples of players going from mid-major, D2, D3, JUCO, NCAA, and making to NBA ball and pro ball in general. You look at, probably your favorite players probably went from a lower level. Like, you got Ja Morant, you got Dame Lillard, Steph Curry, CJ McCollum, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, all guys who have played mid-major. You want to go D2, Scottie Pippen. You got Ben Wallace, Dennis Rodman, Jimmy Butler, who went JUCO at one point, leveled up and went to Marquette. Same thing with Jay Crowder. He went JUCO and leveled up to Marquette. Like, it's too many examples of players leveling up from, you know, a lower level to a high major D1 or a mid major going pro and doing very well for themselves. You can look at Duncan Robinson. He went D3, transferred to Michigan, won its title that year and went pro. Now he's doing his thing pro. So it's like all the excuses are eliminated at this point. There's no excuse to why you're not there. And you look at go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, finish your thought.
Honestly, you can look at Patrick Beverly, who went D1. He went to Arkansas, didn't go pro. He went, well, not my bad. He went pro. He didn't go NBA. He went overseas. Then he played in Italy and one or two more places for like 3 years, I think. And then he finally got to the NBA. So it's like it's maneuvers, it's different routes to get there. We just think we're so conditioned to thinking of one route that I have to go D1. I have to be the number one guy, Kentucky or Duke, and I have to go number one pick in the draft or my whole career is a bust. Like, we gotta get rid of that whole stigma and let players know that there's a lot better and different avenues for you. You just got to figure out which one's for you.
Exactly. And I even have a recent story that proves that the last school we played against, it's called the College of Charleston in South Carolina, mid-major D1. A guy named Zep Jasper that played for them, absolute bucket. He was the best player on their team. Gave us 38 in the game, and we lost it overtime. And I remember being on the bench watching him. He had 20 at the half. He already had 20 at the half, or like 22. And I remember looking at our trainer tomorrow. I said, and we were playing well at the time. So I think like we was all flowing. Everybody was playing hard. Even at the time, I think it was up like 10. And we were playing well. So we were playing well. Everybody's playing hard. And we was kind of flowing. So the game was feeling good at the time. So I remember looking at our trainer Jamal, like, Jamal, this guy's about to have 40 with an L. Like, he's gonna have 40 points, but with an L. Like, he's the only one doing something. Which would have been the case. He would have ended if we would have won the game in regulation, like we should have. I think he would have ended with like 32. But we fumbled our lead, ended up going into overtime, and he got every bucket in the overtime. Either he scored or he got fouled and went to the free throw line. I think only one other guy scored 2 points the whole overtime. And he ended up with 38, and they won by 3. That's what it was. So that was our last game, because after that we ended up getting shut down by Corona. I don't know how their season shook out. I never checked on them again. Fast forward about a month later, we find out the same guy is transferring from College of Charleston to Auburn. So I don't know if our game had anything to do with it. I'm sure it had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I don't know how many games they played after that, or what he may have done. But all I know is he was at a mid-major school. The one time that I played against him, or my team played against him, he had 38. And then a month later, I heard he was transferring to Auburn University. So whatever level, I say again, whatever level you end up on and whatever level you think you should be on, it will show. That's the reverse of that is also true. If you believe you're supposed to be on the Division I level and you get to the Division I level, it will show if you really belong there.
Yep.
If you're supposed to be on Division I level, you end up on D2. It will show if you belong at the Division I level. If you were a Division I level basketball player in high school and you end up going JUCO because you didn't have exposure, it will definitely show if you are a Division I player.
Yep.
So I need guys to lose that stigma of it's D1 or bust. Because no, the real question should be, are you the guy you think you are? And if not, we'll see.
Yep.
You need to prove to us, and by us I mean the world, the state that you're in, the country, anything. Prove to us that you are who you think you are, or who you believe yourself to be.
Yep. That's perfect, man. So just to kind of get a clearer understanding, can you break down more of like because like people think it's a huge gap between D1 and D2, and then D2 to D3. Can you break down how slim the difference? Like, you know what I mean? In fantasy world, is D1 is level 99 rankings, and then D2 is like number 65 or 70. Then you got D3 down here in the 50s, and everything below that is not even worth my time. Can you really break down the for real slim margin between D1, D2, D3, so on and so forth?
Yeah, I can do that. So the Division 1 level is obviously the highest. So let's say in your terms, we'll keep that analogy going. So let's say high majors are the 99s. So the big names, the blue bloods, the people you see on TV, the people playing in the tournament right now, those are your 99s because that's the highest level of play. So then you got your mid majors who are still Division 1s. They are, if we was going to make them lower, and the blue bloods are the 99s, the mid majors, let's say they're about 85s, most of them. Because anybody following the tournament right now has heard of Loyola Chicago.
Yep.
And Loyola Chicago is a mid major. And the mid majors end up in the NCAA tournament the same way as the high majors because it's all the same level. That's why 64 teams in the tournament. And then that's why there'll be those teams you've never heard of because those are most likely mid-major D1s.
Yep.
So let's say we'll do this judging based on the average teams of those levels. So the high major average team we'll say is a 99. The mid-major average team we'll say that's about the 80, 85 to 89 level. Those are those guys. And then you have your really good high majors like Loyola Chicago's, or the Ohio's, or things like that. Or Ohio might be high major. I'm sorry. But
and they mid major. They mid major.
They mid major? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you got your Ohio's, your Loyola Chicago, the Murray States, the San Diego States. Those are the guys that end up in the tournament that you never heard of. And then sometimes they come in and wreck some.
Yep.
And beat the teams that you love and send them home. And you like, man, we lost to who? Those are the mid majors.
Yep.
So they're about in the 85 to 90 range if we're doing it this way. So then we get to the division. Those are the 75 to 85 range. So the good Division 2 schools, my conference that I play in right now here at Columbus State, our conference is called the Peach Belt Conference. That's one of the best conferences in the country on this level. And so, and I can prove that to you because the team that won our conference this year, Flagler, called Flagler University, they just lost in the Final Four of the national tournament. So the team that won our conference ended up in the Final Four. So this is one of the better teams. This is one of the best conferences on this level in the country. And so teams on this level are from like about the average team on this level, about 75 to 85 range. Because like I just explained to this earlier, we played a mid-major school and should have won, almost won. So it's very possible to beat a D1, same way it's possible for a mid-major to beat a high major. So there's no big gap between any of those levels. But then we drop down to the D3s, to the Division 3 level. Now, we'll get into this a little later, but the Division 3 level cannot offer full ride athletic scholarships. So athletes that belong on higher levels are not going to Division 3. So a Division 3 school is probably in the 60 to 70 range, but the average team is not going to be close to a Division 2 school on Division 3. The best Division 3 schools might make a game out of a average D2 game, average D2 school. Then we below D3, the only thing below D3 is JUCO, and the JUCO teams are not below D3. Like if D3 is, like I said, what did I say, 60 to 70?
Yeah.
If Division 3 is 60 to 70, JUCOs are also 60 to 70. They're almost the same level. The best JUCO teams, for those who don't know, are usually in Florida and what's called the Panhandle, and a lot of good teams in Georgia and a couple in Mississippi. And then like across the country, that's another scale. But down here in the South, those are some of the better teams. Good JUCOs out there in Texas too. And California has some good JUCOs. So, but the best JUCO teams, promise you, could beat to sleep of some Division III schools. A lower level Division III school, like let's say a bad Division III school that doesn't have a whole lot of talent, plays a good JUCO team, that good JUCO team will beat the mess out of them. So, because some JUCOs are loaded, the best JUCOs in the country are loaded with Division I talent or high level talent. And so the best JUCOs are like I said, like in the Panhandle area, a lot of them in Texas, a lot of them in California, some in Mississippi, some in Georgia. Guys that play in those conferences, those leagues, they can really beat a Division III school because they have higher level talent. And so that is the only level. If guys want to feel disrespected by what they have, if all you have are Division III offers, you need to reevaluate. You got to look in the mirror and think, okay, maybe I am not who I thought I was, because Division IIIs, like I said, cannot offer full ride scholarships. You may not be a full ride scholarship player if that is the case. Not to say, and I don't say that to put nobody down, but if you thought you were supposed to go higher than that, that is your wake up call. If that's all you have, that is the day to look in the mirror and say, okay, I need to get in the gym now and work my tail off, or I need to start making some phone calls to go somewhere and try to walk on. So that's just is what it is. And I don't mean to disrespect anybody playing on the Division III level. I have friends playing on that level, but guys on that level know that this is most likely all they had. They didn't have many options, or they would not have went. So that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like I trained some and worked a little bit some young ladies that play D3, and I've been able to be around some D1 girls, and it's like, no offense, no disrespect, but it's like the difference between those two for me that I've seen, is like the level, like their mindset to the game is different. So, like the young lady I work with now, she's D1. Her mindset is like, it's college basketball, training, practice, workouts. We'll text for 5 seconds and then she's back to, you know what I mean? Like her time is consumed between school, work when she can work, because, that life don't allow you to do it. But school, work when she can, and training. That's literally all she does. You know what I mean? Versus D3, where it's more of an option. You know what I mean? Not to say that they don't want to, but that level of commitment isn't the same. It can be that level of D1 and not slack off, but like not put in the effort to train as much. But that's the reason why she's D1, because she had the level of commitment from the jump to say, okay, we got done with practice, I'm getting extra shots up now. Okay, rest for an hour, I got class, I got 3-hour break. Okay, I'm gonna go get some training in while I can. Okay, you a trainer? All right, cool. When can we get some work in? Bet. Versus D3 is kind of like get in where we can, not the same level of commitment. You know what I mean? It's just, not to say that atmosphere put them there, but they got there in that atmosphere because of who they were before. And on the men's side, I feel like the differences between certain levels are very, very slim. Like you can have two very similar builds as far as, an athletic, like few example, an athletic 6'6" player. The difference between somebody going D2 and going D1 because he might have had exposure, or he might have had better grades, or he just might have a little bit better numbers because of the opportunity he had on the team. It's like, it's not that big of a difference sometimes. Like if you go one-on-one, I might beat him, but he gets the D1 offer because of this slim margin. Like sometimes it's not that they're that much of a better player. It's just those minor details is what triple player up. Or it might be something completely irrelevant to basketball, be something off the court where it's like he had a talk with a coach, his high school coach, like he, has this issue here and there. He doesn't show up to class on time, grades. It's so many small things that can add up to where that's why they went D1 to mid-major or mid-major D2 to where it's not that big of a jump sometimes. And I think players knowing that helps them understand the overall picture of how much D1 is better than mid-major to D2. Because it's not that we're not talking about the Zions, the RJ Barretts, the you know what I mean, the obvious number one picks in first. I'm talking about the average college player that is in high level D1 basketball. The difference between them and a mid-major and D2 isn't that big of a jump. So it's like players got to understand that sometimes it's that slim difference that they put in just a little bit more work than me. They can shoot a little bit better grades, a little bit better off the court. It's those small details that can add up to where they have the big opportunity versus another player. So anything you want to add on that?
I kind of want to throw in what my level of play right now for myself individually. So,
yeah.
For those who may be wondering or asking themselves, well, Nelson, you know all this about the levels of play. Why are you not a Division I player or on the Division I level? And so, like my sophomore year at junior college, I really believe. Now, don't get me wrong. When I came out of high school, I firmly believe I was a junior college level player. I was supposed to be playing junior college. So I believe I needed that time of development. I didn't have a whole lot of skills and I didn't have a lot of just like I couldn't shoot, I couldn't dribble very well. My post moves weren't really there. I was really surviving off my athleticism and my length and my IQ. And so that was enough in high school. And if I was to show you my high school highlights, they were all dunks, layups, blocks, and they were good plays, but that was it. That's all I could do. I could dunk, I could make a layup, I could block shots, and I could defend well. And so that was enough. But that was all surviving off athleticism and knowing the game. So I firmly believe I ended up on JUCO level because that's where I needed to be. On the JUCO level, after my freshman and sophomore year, of course, I wanted to go Division I, and I had some Division I interest. But with everything going on with the pandemic had just started. For those who have been listening to us, they know that the pandemic hit about 4 or 5 days after the last game of our season, my sophomore year. So recruiting was very weird. Coaches were calling me and texting me. I couldn't go on visits. I couldn't meet nobody in person. My parents couldn't come to nothing. Everything was being done over the phone or maybe a Zoom call or something like that. And nobody really knew what was happening. You know what I'm saying? And for a long time, they didn't know if they were going to give, if the NCAA was going to give guys this year eligibility back for not going to the NCAA tournament, or if they were just going to have to cut it off and let guys walk, or what they were going to do. No one knew what was going to happen. And my junior college coach, Coach Tommy Suits, he tried to convince me to wait to sign to see what would happen because I had some Division I schools calling him and asking him about me and things like that. But me being a cautious person, I didn't want to wait too long on Division I school to pull the trigger on me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to wait to see if a Division I school was gonna go ahead and just make that leap of faith and be like, yeah, coach, we want to offer him a full scholarship, or Nelson, we want to offer you a full ride scholarship. So who knows how long that would have taken, because I had the whole summer. It was only February, but I didn't want to wait till July hoping for a scholarship offer. And then it never comes, and I have to circle back around to the D2s that I had at the time from the beginning, and they may not be there anymore. So I just didn't want to take that risk as a player. For me and my family, I thought that signing to Columbus State was the best decision for me. And so far it has been. I think this is where God wanted me to be. God has a plan for us all, obviously. And so I think this is where I'm supposed to be at this time. So I'm very happy with my decision. And I just didn't want guys to be out there like, he telling us all, listen, he ain't even playing Division I. Like, you're absolutely right. I'm not. So if you feel that way, that's cool. But I just want to kind of explain that to guys. Like, yeah, I'm not on Division I level, but I understand the way things work and how things go. And I played against every level there is so far. So just a little nugget about my life in case y'all was wondering.
Okay, so kind of getting back to what you were saying with your recruitment period, man. Can you give advice to a young player right now, seeing that's getting recruited because they're going through a similar situation like you, where of course things have opened up compared to back when you were getting recruited. Can you give them advice on where they should go? Like, how should they decide what school to pick? Like, what things do they need to consider overall, and what things do they need to take into account when they're deciding the schools?
Well, first I want to say that this is the most let's use interesting. This is the most interesting recruiting period or year for recruiting I've ever seen. And so I actually feel really bad for high school guys right now. High school guys and junior college sophomores, because they have given everybody playing college basketball right now an extra year eligibility. And I'm not 100% sure if they're giving JUCO guys an extra year eligibility. Like, I don't know if sophomores can come back for a third year of junior college. I don't know if they did that or not, but I don't think they did. I haven't heard anything like that. But anyway, this is a very interesting year for recruiting, same way mine was. But the only difference was guys didn't get their year eligibility back from last year because they had played the majority of the season. Most teams had finished their season. They just didn't get to go to an NCAA tournament. So guys end up having to still leave if they were graduating or anything like that. So there was still space in schools. Right now, we get these years back, there's not a whole lot of space. There's not a whole lot of teams with a lot of openings, with a bunch of openings at the same time. Not only that, guys are putting their name in the transfer portal, realizing that they have another year, so they can go to a different situation. Sometimes guys are kind of gridlocked in the school that they're in. Let's say if I'm a junior and I didn't really like the school I'm at, like if I played, same like in my situation, if I played JUCO and then came here for my junior year and I didn't like it here and I wanted to transfer, I only have one more year eligibility. Not many schools are going to be like, oh yeah, we'll take you for 1 year, unless I'm just that good to where I can change some of the things in their program in 1 year of playing. But that's a weird thing to happen. That's a weird position to be in. So guys that are in that same position can leave knowing they have 2 years left, and it's almost as if, oh, I got 2 years left. It's just like transferring to a school straight out of JUCO. And I've already done that, so it's like that's nothing new. So I really feel bad for high school guys, high school seniors. So my only advice to y'all would be, number one, always pick a school that wants you just as much or equally as much or more than you want to go to it. Don't pick a school based on you just like the school and the school isn't really full in on you. And you will know if a school is 100% in on you as a talent or not, because they'll treat you that way. So always pick a school that is 100% in on you the same way you were 100% in on them. And number two, for guys in this recruiting class in the year 2021, do not be afraid to go to a prep school or anything like that, to where you wouldn't be using a year eligibility at a school you may not really want to go to because there's not a lot of openings. So you may not have a lot of options right now, to no fault of your own. Even if you were good enough to play on a higher level, I mean, obviously if you were Division I talent, somebody would still take you. But let's say you were a junior college level talent, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then junior colleges in your area are not really offering scholarships like that because they're retaining players. So I just say, don't be afraid of going to a prep school if this is something you want to do. But, obviously talk that over with your family, your parents, and, make the best decision for all of you. Don't just make the best decision for you or try to force your parents to deal with something just because you want to go there. So don't force your parents to pay a whole lot of money for you to go to school, things like that, if you don't absolutely have to. Talk that over with them and make sure this is something that they also can do for you, not just you wanting to do it and they just have to accommodate that. Even though you are the kid, I'm just never been that guy to just force my family's hand. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's pretty much it. And prepare yourself the best way you can for whatever level you end up on. And even if it's not the level you think you should be at or where you want to play at the time, always, give everything 100%. Don't let nothing be half of your energy. Always come in ready to play, ready to work. And like I say, the work will always show for itself.
Yeah, I like that, man. My advice, I've been talking to different players and different situations and like what made them pick certain schools and why they transfer and everything. And I haven't talked, of course, anybody at that super high level where pro is a obvious option, but I've talked to players at different levels, and it's like for them, they knew that one thing they definitely considered was like life during college and after college, because this goes for non-athletes too, and just students in general. Like you have to consider life after college for wherever you're going to, because if we're from Alabama, but if you transfer to Georgia and I go to a school in Texas, there's a good chance I can get a job there because I have connections there, I have networks there to where I got cool with all these teachers, and these teachers know people in these positions. That's an easy hire just because of that network. Especially if you're a college athlete, you get a name in that city or that state where you're from, they're gonna show you a lot of love off top just because, oh, Nelson, you want to work here? Yeah, I got you, man. Just, give me a resume, start in the third, and I'll hook you up. So always consider that, the long-term bigger picture with career in your major as far as life after college. Don't just go there to play ball and think that's it. Like I talked about before in another episode, man, don't have a backup plan, because I don't like saying that to say it won't work out, but be a layered player and person in general to where you're not just basketball or die. Have more stuff to you, and just being honest, depending on what level you at, man, do have a backup plan, because at some point, basketball is not going to be your main, focus in your life. You're going to have other things that you got to focus on. So, have another plan just for that, and focus on school as much too. And I remember somebody telling me that you got to focus on your development, not just as a player, but as a person, because I remember one girl telling me that she went to one school and she wasn't developed as much because she wasn't getting respect from the coaches. They weren't, caring for her. They just cared more about, the athlete side. So they'll, run the athletes to the ground. They do all this stuff to where she didn't feel respected. The players weren't happy and everything, to where they couldn't fully grow and develop. Now, were they in shape and were certain things good? Yeah. But overall, she didn't feel like that was the best situation for her. So players got to decide on if that situation is going to help them grow and develop on and off the court. And the last thing I'll say, kind of going back to what you were saying before, whatever level you on will prove if you belong there or not. Because I've had certain, not in basketball, I remember somebody in football, they went to a D1 school, they didn't play much, if at all. They ended up having to transfer back down, I think to go D2, I think. And things switched up when we started playing there, and a lot of players go situations for a name, or they go there for clout to say, oh, I got an offer from this big school, but it's not what you think it is. I'm about to go to Alabama. I got an offer from Alabama or Auburn, which is a great SEC D1 school. But if you go there, you're not playing. You might not play till your junior or senior year, which isn't a bad thing, but just be aware of that. And a lot of players are always going with that mindset to where I'm going to be, a freshman phenom, I'm going to kill on the campus, or I'm going to be a great role player and, play 13, 20 minutes a game. I mean, that's not the situation. You're going to ride the pine. You might be red shirt freshman. Nothing wrong with that, but just be aware of the situation you're getting into. And so
exactly what you're getting into.
So if you want to play off top, your best bet might be to go to a different school. It might be a mid-major or a D2 or a D3. Just level up from there. So consider your playing time and just be aware of what you're getting into. And don't just go somewhere for the name to say, I was able to go to this school, but look up your stats. You don't have stats because you didn't play. It's cool to say I went to this school, but it's even better to say I played. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, as an athlete, that's what you want to do. You want to play. So that's the most important thing I say is like, make sure you want to go there to actually get an opportunity to play, especially if you talk about playing pro ball afterwards. So don't just go somewhere for a clout or for name, and don't be one of them people that's trying to stunt on people like I got an offer from this school, and this school, and now you look bad because you got all these D1 offers. They retract the offers. Now you got to settle, quote unquote, for a D2 school. But trying to stunt on everybody to say, oh, I got these big schools offering me, and they got to pull the offers because you waited too long, or pull the offers because you had a bad game or two, or you got an injury or whatever happens. So now you look bad because you're trying to stun on everybody. So now you got to settle for, quote unquote, settle for the D2 schools. So just be humble, man, and realize what you're getting into when you picking your school. So anything else you're going to add on that?
Yeah, I have a similar story to the one you just told about the football players. So a guy also in this conference, playing for Flagler, who, like I said earlier, went to the Final Four. Their best player is a D1 transfer. I forgot. My coach told me what Division I school he went to, but I forgot. He was there, coming off the bench, averaging 6 points a game. Transfers down from Division I to Division II, and ends up being Conference Player of the Year this year. So, like I said, that's not to say he didn't belong at the Division I level, because obviously he's a great talent. I played against him. He gave us 23. He led the conference in scoring, and I want to say he had 23 against us. So obviously he's a great talent. But whatever school he went to on that Division I level may not have been the best fit for him, or maybe there was a guy better than him ahead of him, or something like that. There's a lot of factors that can go into it.
Yeah.
And he decided, like, okay, I'm not playing well, or I'm not getting the minutes that I thought I would get here. I'm going to transfer lower and go somewhere where I can do my thing. Or I don't know what his thought process was, but I'm just assuming that's probably what he was thinking.
Yeah.
I can transfer down to a lower level school, and I can do my thing, have a better opportunity. And he does exactly that, and he makes the best of his opportunity. I want to say averages 24 points a game, leads to the conference player of the year, takes his team to the conference championship, wins the conference championship, and takes his team to the Final Four of the NCAA tournament, all in 1 year. So the work, like I say, the work will show for itself. And I'm gonna continue to say that anybody that listens to this podcast regularly, if you become a fan of the podcast, let this be my catchphrase: the work will always show for itself, at whatever level you on. So that's not to say he wasn't putting in the work at the Division I school that he went wherever he attended, but he decided to make a move that was probably best for him, that he felt was best for him, and the work still showed. And I know there was probably a time where he was at that school averaging 6 points, whatever he was. And, other guys probably like, oh, he's not, all that. Or maybe his friends at home like, oh, man, I thought you was going to be better than that. Whatever. And that happens a lot in athletics. Like, oh, you go somewhere, you're not averaging what people thought you would average. Like, you were 20 in high school, and you go to college, average 6. Like, oh, you was just a good high school player. Guys will do that to you. You cannot let that get to you. Because at the end of the day, the work will show for itself.
Yep. I like that. So kind of piggybacking off of that a little bit, what are some things that players can do? Like, what's the work they can put in to get them to college basketball? Like, what are some things that, a middle school player or under freshman, is that the right word? Under freshman? Dang, I've been out of school too.
Underclassmen.
I'm tripping. That sounds weird, but underclassmen. That underclassmen in high school needs to know to get them into college basketball. So need some advice on that, man. Anything you got? We can go back and forth, or you can just give off what you got, whatever.
As far as underclassmen go, when you're on a higher level, let's say any kind of 4-year school, actually, if you're in a 4-year school, you're underclassmen, you coming in a freshman, or freshman turns to a sophomore. I want freshmen to know coming in, you're going to a 4-year institution. Don't come in ready to work. Come in ready to listen and to learn. Because you have not been here before. You have not played this level. And I get it, you at a 4-year school, out of high school, that means you were obviously doing something right. You were obviously a good high school player. But we were all good high school players. And that's something a lot of guys don't understand. If you a freshman coming in from high school, you obviously you were good. You got a scholarship here. You were good. We were all good. Like, and some guys don't understand that. So, and we have played at this level before, and you haven't. So, listen, come ready to listen, come in ready to learn. Don't come in thinking, "Oh, I'm just gonna be the guy." That's not saying you shouldn't try to be the best player you can be. And every now and then I mean, it's not uncommon for a freshman to come in and be a great player, be a standout player for a team. But if you are not, don't attack the guys or come at the guys like, "Oh, nah, I'm better than these guys," or "I'm the man." You know what I'm saying? Play and compete. Try to earn your spot. Do what you got to do, but be willing to listen and learn to the guys who've been there before you. And also, if you are not that guy, if you come in and not get a lot of playing time, maybe the coach asks you to red shirt or a lot of times the coach will tell you, and you're probably not gonna get a whole lot of minutes your first year here because we got some guys. But don't let that discourage you from the talent that you are or could be in the future. So, and if you expected to play more and you want to transfer and go somewhere else, that's all up to you. But just be willing to, don't be opposed to taking that long ride.
Mhm.
Sometimes sometimes you got to get out of the mud. Like, you coming into your freshman year, not getting a whole lot of playing time at a 4-year school is the equivalent almost of a guy going to JUCO like I had to go, and then playing 2 years there, and then transferring here as a junior. Because at the end of the day, you are already here, gaining that experience, learning how to play on this level with this speed and this talent. You have 2 years. When that happens, you'll have 2 years experience on him on this level. He might be better than you because he's been playing and things like that, but you will have a greater understanding of this level of play. He hasn't been here, you have. So don't be afraid of taking that long, slow grind. And if you want to transfer out and you don't want to take that grind, there's no knock against you. That's your prerogative. But I would encourage you not to be so ready to run away from the challenge or from the grind of maybe not getting in like you think. Unless your coach tells you, hey, like, you're not gonna get a whole lot of minutes if you want to go somewhere else. That happens too. Sometimes your coach will be straight up with you, like, hey, your freshman year you didn't play a whole lot or whatever, and then you're going into your sophomore year. A lot of times your coach will tell you, hey, you probably gonna be in the same position again next year. So if you want to transfer somewhere else where you might play more, that's up to you. Like, we'll love to have you back, but just to let you know, you'll probably be in the same position next year. A lot of times coaches will be straight up with you about something like that. And if you want to leave, leave. But I encourage you not, if you come in to be a freshman and not playing a whole lot, just know you are not the only one in that position. That happens a lot. This is not uncommon for someone in your position not be playing a whole lot. So don't take it to mean like, oh, what they brought me here for, they're not gonna play me, or why would he offer me if he don't want me to play? That happens a lot. Guys come in as freshmen and don't play a whole lot of minutes. So don't take that to mean it's something against you or you are not the talent that you think you are. It's just part of the grind. Sometimes you gotta get out of the mud, and everything comes in its own timing. So when your time comes, be ready, be prepared, put the work in, and the work will show when your time comes.
Yeah, I like that, man. And if, like he was saying, if you are a role player and you're struggling with everything, the first thing you need to do is listen to our podcast episodes. We talked about being a star in your role.
Exactly.
We talk about how to manage your role and everything. Like, we got you, man. That's what the podcast is for. So,
hey, look, man, we look out for y'all, man. We know what it is. We
got you. That's what we're here for. We're looking out for you, man. So, if you're in that position, like he talked about, man, first listen to my boy Nelson breakdown of how to star in your role. That should be episode 2. Then listen to my little breakdown on episode 4, the 2 before this one, where I talk about how to manage your role and basically understanding how to finesse through it, man. So if you're in a situation, go ahead and listen to those 2 podcasts. It shouldn't take that long. Then you got a better understanding of what to do in that situation, in that role. But on a serious note, man, that's good because sometimes we let pride and everything get in the way, and that messes up where greatness could be. You know what I mean? Like, I think I can't stand when people say this, but our generation is the microwave generation, and we don't know how to let things simmer and cook and take the long road. Like, to an extent, that's very true. You know, we do have a certain level of impatience, and we're not the most, you know, long suffering of generation because that's where we grew up. You know what I mean? We've grown up in a situation where we went from, you know, walking was the main thing and bikes to cars, cars that can fly down the road now, to literally being able to fly in the sky, to being able from writing letters and having the slow computer with the fat back on it or the TVs with the fat back on it to instantaneous messages with text and what we're doing right now with you got Skype and Zoom, you got all social media channels to where things are coming a lot quicker. And there is a level of impatience that we have towards everything in life. Like everything in life isn't going to be that, all right, put this popcorn in the microwave, press a button, sit here and wait. Okay, it's done. Not gonna be a 30-second zap or a minute zap and it's done. Like some things you would have to, like you said, get out the mud and like you're gonna have to struggle with that thing. You're gonna have to fight with it to get the results you want. Like we said before, you have Jimmy Butler, who's probably the fan favorite of most people at this point. You know, he came from a JUCO school. He fought to get his way to that JUCO from his personal life, you know, outside of basketball. He fought to that JUCO. From JUCO, he fought to Marquette. From Marquette, he fought to get to the draft pick with the Bulls. From the Bulls, he still had to get out the mud to where he went from not really playing as much, came in as a role player, just defense, leveled up to where he was becoming, basically the number one guy at one point when D Rose was hurt. Leveled up to now, he's a man in Miami. Like his whole grind from, as far as I know, since birth to now has been a grind. You can ask any of these mid-major players, the Dames and CJs, the Steph Currys, the Kawhis, the Ja Morants. They have a chip on their shoulder because of everything they went through. Everything was just handed to them. They got out the mud and they struggled with it. They didn't just get good overnight. Like Steph Curry wasn't just gifted by the guys a great shot. He worked for it. Him and his brother put up thousands of shots over the summer to get to that point. And don't let, you know, the current situation that you in dictate to where it's always going to be. You have some control and power of your life to be like, you know what, I'm D2 right now, but I'm going to keep busting my butt to do what I can to level up. I feel like I'm a D1 player to work with a show like you were saying, to where I'm going to keep putting in work to where I'm dropping 30 on D2. D1 going to have to start calling me off me. You know what I mean? So get that pride aside and just really put in work to where it might not show overnight, might not show over a season, you know what I mean, over a summer. Like, but if you really trust and believe that that's what's for you, it's gonna happen the way it's supposed to happen. So I like that, man. I like that. So now you want to get into advice to a step before that, you know, to the kids trying to get into college basketball. Like, how can they, what things they need to know and work on to get to college basketball?
Well, first and foremost, you need at least a 19 on the ACT and at least a 2.5 GPA. That is first. Yep. So always maintain your grades and don't settle for a 19 and a 2.5. That's not what I'm saying. Have more than that so you won't even have to worry about it.
Yep.
I remember when I made the 19 on the ACT the first time I took it my junior year. My mama wanted me to take it again. So I told my AAU coach, I'm going to take the ACT again in a couple of weeks. He was like, why? Because I already made a 19 and he obviously knew I wanted to play college basketball. He was like, why? You good? Like, why? I was like, my mama wanted me to take it so that, you know, I can make higher. And I ended up making a 21. Not saying, you know, that had anything to do with my recruitment, but I mean, well, it kind of did because coaches would be like, oh, you made 21. You did pretty good. Coaches would look at that and be like, oh, you're actually pretty smart. You're not just a guy who made a 19 and was like, oh, okay, I can play college basketball, you know. So that's something that people look at. But that's first and foremost. Now, on the basketball side of things, you need to know who you are. You need to know what type of player you are. Know if you are a scorer. Know if you are a defender. Know if you are a shooter. Know if you are a big. Know if you are a wing. Know if you are a point. Know if you need to play one position. Know if you can play multiple. Know who you are as a player. And I have known since high school that I could block shots, I could rebound, I could score inside. Like I said, even before I didn't have any skill in high school. I had very little skill in high school, but my athleticism and my IQ led me to be a shot blocker, rebounder, and paint presence. And I carried that all the way to this point. So here I am also a shot blocker. I'm also a rebounder. I'm also a paint presence. I can score inside. So now I'm starting to develop more skill to that and put more offense behind that and develop more on ball defense. So all I'm doing is expanding what was already there. And that's what colleges want to see. They want to see who you are at this moment so they can know what you will turn into in the future. So I want to give you an example. So let's say Chris Paul. And Chris Paul has been Chris Paul since high school. No one has ever looked at him and was like, oh, I want him to be our main scorer. Like, no. Obviously, he can't score, but since high school, Chris Paul has been the point guard that we know him to be. Oh, this guy's going to run my offense. That's all we need to know. He's going to run our offense perfectly. He's not going to turn the ball over. I guarantee you, college coaches sat back and looked at him and said, he's going to lead our conference in assists. That's the type of things college coaches say. My college coach, when I was going JUCO, he was recruiting me. It took one game. And sometimes that's all it takes, one good game. He came and watched me play against Selma High School my senior year. I had 20 points, 12 rebounds, like maybe 8 blocks. I had a whole lot of blocks. Guys just kept driving in like nothing was going on. So they made the game. The game was good. 20 points, 12 rebounds, like 8 blocks. He offered me that same night because sometimes that's all it takes. And he told me from the first time I saw you, I knew you would be a great shot blocker. The way you block shots, you were already tall, athletic, and long, but you had an understanding of how to block shots. Blocking shots is all about timing and understanding when and when not to jump. Yeah. And he said, I already saw that you had that. Some people never have that, the timing and the understanding of how to be in position and things like that on defense. And he said, the first time I saw you, I knew you could be a great shot blocker. And then when I came to BeBall State, I led our conference in blocks my first year there. So that's all that college coaches are looking for. They need certain players in certain positions. So they're not trying to recruit. I mean, obviously I want the best players available. So if you just are a great player, have all this talent, of course you'll get offers. But mainly college coaches are looking for somebody who can fill a spot, fill a role. I need a point guard. The type of offense I run, I need him to be able to run that. If we're a running team, I need him to be fast. All right, they come and watch you play the AAU game. You running nonstop, running the offense, but you're also not turning the ball over. That's my guy. He's doing everything I need him to do. If I get him now in high school, I know he'll turn into a good college point guard for me. He's going to lead this conference in the season because he can run and he can also pass and he can also handle the ball in transition. He doesn't turn the ball over. He makes the right decision. So that is the main thing you know about trying to get a college scholarship. Know who you are. Know what you can do. Know what position you play. And don't try to get outside of that. Not saying don't work on other things, but if college that bothers college coaches more than anything when you try to get outside of your game. So if I come out, let's say me being the big, let's say one day in the game, I just grab the board, take off pushing it down the floor. They're gonna be like, what are you doing? What is this guy doing? That's not what we need you for. We need you to get the board, outlet that thing to the point guard so he can push the ball up the floor. That's not your job. So remember what your job is and try not to get outside of that. Not saying don't be good at other things, but know what your job is. And so that's the main thing you need to know about on the court. Now, off the court, just stay out of trouble. Keep your grades right, stay out of trouble. Make yourself known as someone who stays out of trouble. So, like, not saying you have to be in the spotlight, nothing like that, but you are already somewhere in the spotlight being a basketball player. So people know you and they know your face. They know who you are. A lot of times they're going to know your family if you come from a small town like me. So make sure you are known, make sure your name is good. A good name is worth more than money, like my granddad used to tell me. Mm-hmm. So if you have a good name, your college coaches, your recruiters are going to ask people about you. Mm-hmm. They might, obviously they're going to ask your coach. Don't let your coach have to say, oh, hey, I can't get him to come to practice. I can't get him to work out. He's never on time or anything negative like that. He doesn't listen. If I try to tell him something, he always got something to say. Don't let that be the case, okay? Because that will hurt your recruiting big time. And then you'll look back like, oh, I can't believe my high school coach said that about me. He told the truth. Like, and not, a lot of times your coach will not lie on your behalf because that's on their name. So now the next time they try to get a guy recruited, recruiters remember that they lied to him about you, and now all of a sudden they don't trust him no more. And they don't take their next guy. So don't be mad at your high school coach if they tell the truth and that happens to be a negative outlook on you. You did that to yourself. So make yourself known as someone who is coachable. Make yourself known as someone who doesn't get in trouble. Make yourself known that have a good name or be a good person. And I ain't saying you got to be Mr. Nice Guy to everybody, but just be a good person. Don't do wrong by. So your teachers know, even if he don't. I mean, he tries in school. He's not late. He's not coming to class sleeping every day. Recruiters will ask your teachers about you. My college coach asked my principal about me. It's like, what kind of student is he? What kind of kid is he? Luckily, my principal knows me, and I was a good kid in high school. Still am a good kid. I don't want you to think I changed, but my principal was like, "Oh, he's a great kid. He's a great kid. He makes good grades. His teachers like him. He's a model student. He doesn't get in no trouble around here." And my offers were there off of his word. And so make sure you are known as not a troublemaker and known to be a good person who tries in school. That's all that really matters. So if you're known for not coming to class, or if you don't make good grades, or if you're disrespectful, it will be known. And you better hope your talent can overshadow that. Because if Zion Williamson was a disrespectful kid, he still would have offers. Make sure you got Zion Williamson talent before you do that. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, am I good enough to go to college acting the way I act? And if the answer is no, make sure you evaluate that for yourself. And can't nobody tell you if it is or not but you. Because ain't nobody gonna look at you and be like, hey man, you act too bad to be as bad as you are. Nobody's gonna say that. So just recognize that for yourself. So that's pretty much it, man. That's all the advice I got. You got any advice for guys like that?
That's real, man. Like, can't tell you how many times, during the draft and stuff, you see that, especially talking about pro level draft, they talking about how they go in on guys talking about how they detail study players, because at that level, it's business, it's money, it's a career I'm worried about. So if I'm offering you millions of dollars or six figures and up, you know what I mean? Like, that's an investment at that point. So I'm doing detailed work on who you are as a person. Are you going to be, giving me the product that I'm paying for, basically? Like, you paying $1,000 for your iPhone, you're going to make sure this iPhone works. You can make sure it's not fake. You're going to make sure that it's from Apple and not some dude trying to bootleg it and finesse you off his $1,000. Like, so the same respect you have for the iPhone, the same respect that college coaches have when they're investing into you, because if you come in and ruin my program and messing me up, that's messing my money up in my check. So make sure that you're worth the investment that you're saying that you are.
There goes your analogy for the day. If you pay $1,000 for that iPhone, you want that iPhone to work.
Well, that's
you wanted to do what you needed to do.
Yeah. So make sure that you're worth the trouble that you are. You know what I mean? So like you said, if Zion coming out was, disrespectful kid and he was late to class all the time and he had a lot of trouble with him, I'm pretty sure Duke would have been sweeping stuff under the rug and being like, you know what, don't mention that to nobody. Here's a couple of Ks to make sure, tell nobody, just come on over to Duke, because a couple of little thousand I'm paying you off, and nothing compared to these millions, and possibly billions, this team finna bring me. Right. You feel me? So, like he said, if you're not Zion level talent, don't be bringing Zion level trouble. Not saying Zion's a trouble kid, but bringing that much attention and negative energy to the program. And bouncing back off, like you said, knowing your role, just overall IQ, man. Like, each level goes higher and higher. So from high school ball to college ball, I don't care which level you at, from high school ball going up, it's a different level of IQ that you have to understand. So make sure that your IQ is on point, your decision making is on point. If you want to go skill wise, just make sure you can shoot the ball. Like, if you can do nothing else, you can shoot, because we talked about this before, man. If you know your role, no coach is going to sit there and turn down JJ Redick. No coach is turning down Clay. No coach is turning down any shooter at that level, Kyle Korver, you're not turning that down. Or if you can get buckets, you're a Lou Will, If you're a Trae Young, you can score the ball that well. They're not gonna turn that down. So make sure you can shoot, man, just to be on the skill side. Make sure that you have intangibles. You know, whether it's being a hustle player, you're a great leader, especially for my guards. From one guard to another, make sure you're a leader. You got heart. That's a big thing because you can have all the skill in the world, but if I gotta force you to do extra workouts, I gotta force you to, fight when situations getting rough. That's another burden that we have to deal with. So if you ain't got no heart, and I gotta push you in the back every time to work out, I gotta push you in the back every time to go train, push you in the back to play hard. That's me babying you, and I'm not trying to do that as a college coach. So if you don't have any heart, man, you might want to reconsider, man. Like, I'm not trying to be the wizard and trying to, give you a heart. Like, I don't need no Carolina Lions on this team. Like, you don't have time for that. Like I said, it's a job at this point, it's business at this point. So make sure your intangibles are on point. Be disciplined, man, and be consistent. You want to make sure that on and off the court, you're very disciplined as far as time management, and you don't want to put in work one day and be at level 10. The next day you drop in, I feel like putting a 6 level work in. I can do a 7 or 8 a day. Like, make sure you're consistent to where whatever you put in one day, you put in the next day. Just be consistent on that part. Be disciplined to where, like I said before, you got the heart to work out and train on your own. You making yourself look bad because coach can pull a scholarship for however many plays you need to. You know what I mean? Are we gonna revoke your scholarship because this, that, and the third? Like I said, it's a business, and he's trying to maintain that money coming in. So, or she is. So make sure you're doing your part to keep that spot open. Make sure you're coachable and humble. That goes along with being a problem player. Like, you don't want to be a problem child and coming there being arrogant, thinking you the freshman and all that stuff. Like, get your head busted in by some senior, you getting dunked on around the bench all year because you're coming in with issues. So make sure that you're coachable and humble. Another thing is make sure that you try to get in a situation where you're exposed, whether that's travel ball and AAU, whether that's elite camps or whatever. Try to get exposure and get yourself seen by college coaches, because like you said before, if I'm a great player but nobody sees me, I can do something about that by trying to get myself exposed more. I can go to these camps and go to this AAU team and go wherever I can to make sure these college scouts are seeing me to where I'm getting noticed now. If I'm putting 30 up on this small 1A school and I don't have any connections to any big schools, then I might not get an offer. Doesn't mean you're not good enough to play, but you just didn't have any exposure. So try to get exposure, do what's best for you when it comes to that. And overall, man, have faith. Hopefully you got a little favor on your life and need a little bit of luck, man. Just like you said, the work gonna show, and have faith in yourself, man. Like,
exactly.
Understand what that hard work is and put it in. So have faith in yourself.
And pray.
Pray, that's, man.
And I mean that, pray. And I don't mean pray for Division I scholarships or pray that this school offer you, that school offer you. I mean, pray to be in the best position for you. Pray to be where God wants you to be. Whatever God you believe in, pray that He places you where He wants you to be. Because that's one thing I can honestly say for myself. Everywhere I've been, my high school, my junior college, and the school I'm at now, my 4th year, I can honestly say I firmly believe that I am where God wants me to be. So, and I prayed for that, and God has answered that prayer for me. So I encourage you, if you don't have a relationship with the Lord or a religion that you believe in, I encourage you to get one. Pray to whoever you do believe in, because it means something. So pray that you end up exactly where God wants you to be.
Yeah. So that's a good closeoff, man. Unless you got something else you want to add to it.
I'm good, man. It's been a good one.
So yeah, man. I feel like, we put enough game out there, especially with you giving your experience and, everything you've seen and went through with your career. I feel like this was a quality episode, man. So that's a wrap. This is the levels of college basketball. We couldn't get into the pro game this time, but if you like this one, you want to get us to the different between NBA and overseas basketball, let us know, comment, hit us up, whatever. We'll gladly, do a part 2, quote unquote. We'll gladly do another episode on it and come back with some more, man. So that's it for the BeBall Jones podcast with my boy Nelson Haskin. Make sure that you subscribe to us on YouTube. Getting what we on Spotify and iTunes, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much wherever you get your podcast. Just look up BeBall Jones podcast. We're gonna be there. So like us, subscribe, comment, let us know what you love, what you hate. We're here for all the smoke. Like, let us know what's up, man. If you love this episode, share it with a friend. Make sure they know. Parents that's listening, make sure your kids are listening. Like, that's one thing that we need to do is like make sure your kids are aware and informed. So that's what this podcast, that's part of what this podcast is for, to inform the kids of the real what's going on out here. So parents, make sure your kids listen to this, coaches, trainers, make sure your kids are aware that there's more than D1 and bust. And to be straight up and real, man, you probably won't play college basketball. I'm looking in the mirror at me. You might not play college basketball, just being straight up. Like, there's a strong chance that you will not play. But that doesn't mean you don't fight for it. Doesn't mean, like I said before, have faith and you don't work toward it. Like, there's nothing wrong with wanting to have that. But be very realistic and know there's a good chance that you will not play college basketball. I played D4, which I call rec league and stuff, man. That's my level I played on. I played D4, Division 4 basketball with the red leagues and stuff, man.
Division 4.
But I had fun with that, man. I loved it. But you just gotta be real with kids, man. I'm not a pie in the sky type dude, but I'm still an optimist to where, just like I'm saying right now, man, there's a chance you can go to that level, but just being real, there's a chance you won't, That's what the podcast is for, man. So to sign out from BeBall Jones and Nelson Haskin, that's it from this podcast episode. Appreciate you listening. Stay tuned for next week from a gym with my boy Nelson.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Well, I'll let y'all.